everyone to another episode of the Business is Pleasure podcast. If you guys can tell, I have really high energy right now. I got a fresh haircut, so I'm on 10. My confidence up. Fresh lineup, babe. I'm feeling really, really good. So welcome again to the Business is Pleasure podcast with myself, Jonelle, and of course my wifey for lifey, Colette. So Colette, we've actually had a really busy last 2 weeks, and I want to say thank you for being there to help me and the business and allowing us to maneuver through everything so smoothly as much as we do and everything. You're an amazing business partner and an even better girlfriend, and thank you so much. 'Cause I know a lot of times I can get on your nerves and get under your skin and irritate you, especially what the busier the business gets, the more time we spend together, which is more chances I'm probably gonna know you. So thank you for putting up with me. So for the last week and a half or so, babe, how was your week?
My week was fantastic. I think we had a really productive week. We did a lot. We got a lot done, so that was good. I think the two biggest things that stuck out for me this week was, in addition to coming back from our trips, but our events.
Yes.
So we had Soul Exchange this past weekend, and then we also had the Toronto Vintage Clothing Show the weekend before.
Yes.
So those were both really big events, but very different in their own ways.
So I'm sure the people at home may not be sure about what these events are. Would you be able to quickly explain what a Soul Exchange is? Toronto Vintage Clothing Show?
So Soul Exchange is kind of like where all of your sneakerheads meet to either trade, sell, do whatever you want. So it's basically all about sneakers, but also in reference to sneakers, there's a little bit of apparel. So there's a lot of streetwear. So there's some newer contemporary streetwear items like Off-White, Supreme, all that sorts of stuff. And then there's us. So we bring a little bit of a vintage element to it, but overall the majority of Soul Exchange is shoes, a little bit of apparel.
Yeah. So more so like your hype beast culture, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And then on the contrast to that, the Toronto Vintage Clothing Show is kind of like a mixed bag. Well, at least it's becoming now. So in a good way though. So it's like older vintage. Older vintage. So from the 1930s, 40s, 50s, that type of vintage, the vintage that you see in really time period movies,
like the Great Gatsby.
Yeah,
Gatsby.
The Notebook, that type of stuff. You see women walking around like they just stepped out of the 1950s. Very interesting. But the Toronto Vintage Clothing Show also has a little bit of a mix of current vintage, so a little bit of vintage streetwear, vintage 80s, 90s, that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a mixture now. When we first started doing the Toronto Vintage Clothing Show, it was literally just strictly the 1950s and 40s type of stuff, but now they're kind of branching out to incorporate newer companies like us.
Yeah, exactly. And it's cool though because both of these events, they're not necessarily our ideal market, but we found a way to carve our note for ourselves, right? For instance, with Soul Exchange, a lot of it is shoes, but we don't necessarily sell shoes, but our product is able to complement the shoe aspect of it very well.
Yeah.
And also the vintage is becoming really popular within the streetwear community, so we're able to find a way to incorporate that into that community, so then we can still stand out. And the good thing about the Toronto Vintage Clothing Show is that yes, they're starting to become a bit more younger per se, but it's good because one, they don't have a lot of men's products, and two, they don't have a lot of the products that we sell at all. So again, we're standing out.
Yeah.
And I think it's good as well because now it's able to when people see us, they automatically see our brand and see how we're able to differentiate from everyone else.
Yeah.
So it's really, really nice in that aspect.
And I think also at the same time we do a really good job at diversifying ourselves and picking for the specific event. So a lot of the times when we go to like we said, Soul Exchange is something completely different from the Toronto Vintage Clothing Show. So when we're preparing for Soul Exchange, we're looking for specific types of items that demographic or that crowd would kind of gravitate towards. When we're going to the Toronto Vintage Clothing Show, again, it's the flip side. So we're curating for different types of clothing that crowd or that demographic we assume or think would kind of gravitate gravitate towards.
Yeah, because I remember when we first started our business, we simply wanted to sell items that we liked.
Yeah,
like, you know,
that's not the case.
exactly, and that's not what business is for the most part. Like, now we realize, okay, we have to really cater towards the customer and realize what they want. And now I like the way that we think. That's more so on a case by case thing, right? So for one event, maybe they'll love denim jackets and they'll love Levi's. But for another event, they want Off-White, they want Supreme, they want Palace.
And I think also too, like myself personally, like I'm getting a little bit more comfortable with that, because even this week I was doing the accounting for Soul Exchange, and I was looking through like all the items that we sold, and I kind of felt like, I was like, man, like why are our vintage sales so low? And then like it hit me out of nowhere. I was like, that's just the market. Soul Exchange isn't the market for like strictly vintage clothing. The Toronto Vintage Clothing Show, we didn't even have any Off-White there or any contemporary stuff at all.
Yeah,
and we did amazing. So
Yeah.
it's like I just need to wrap my head around that, like the markets are going to be different each time, and like not every time our vintage stuff is going to sell all the time.
Or like the opposite side, right? Let's say we do bring some of those Off-White pieces to like the more vintage events. The contemporary stuff may not sell at all.
Yeah.
So I think it's nice that like we're becoming humble and we're starting to understand, it's like, let's feed the market what it wants. Let's not try to incorporate something that's not very palatable for that market per se.
Yeah, I think there's like a fine balance between like giving the market what it wants, but also within the idea of like diversifying in that market as well.
100%.
Because like even when we are at Soul Exchange, like we stand out because we are one of the few brands that do vintage and also do like higher end contemporary items like Off-White and those types of things. Not a lot of the vendors there do that. They're either strictly sneakers or strictly just like Off-White or like Supreme.
And it's good too, right? Now we're like carving a name for ourselves within the industry, and it's nice going to events now because we've been like going on the rodeo for about, let's say, like almost a year now. June would be about a year, right? So it would be almost a year, let's say 8 months. That's like we're constantly seeing the same faces. People are seeing us. We're on the same clients and consumers. We're bumping into them and everything. So it's nice too, right? So it's like once we get to know the market and the clients, they get more familiar with our brand. Hopefully that will help our brand to grow as well too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So it's really, really nice. And also the whole thing that you were saying about diversifying, I think it's so true. Because I think we were a bit like apprehensive at first to jump over into the streetwear side, just because when we initially started our business, that was never one of our like core elements that we wanted to work on, you know? It was like really spontaneous for us, but we're like, why not? Let's see what happens.
But I think as we're growing and as our business is developing, we've realized that like we're not in the business of selling one thing specifically, because that's always going to change. The market's always going to change. The demand's always going to change. Who knows? One day we may wake up tomorrow and nobody wants vintage clothing.
Yeah.
We may wake up tomorrow and nobody wants Off-White or nobody wants Supreme. Like it's always changing. So like we can't necessarily be fixated on selling a specific item. We need to be fixated on our business model and curating towards that. And I feel like as we're growing as business owners and as the business is growing in general, like we're getting a better understanding of like what our business is and how are we serving the population that we serve.
No, 100%. So in terms of like what our business is, what do you think it is right now at this point? Or where would you want to see it go?
Ideally, like in the future, I want to see us as wholesalers.
Okay.
So we supply the demand, whatever that demand is. If the demand is vintage clothing, we supply that demand. If the demand is contemporary clothing, we supply that demand. If the demand is cotton balls, Tic Tacs,
all the cotton balls you need.
Yeah, we supply that demand. Whatever people want, we give it to them. We find a way to figure out to get it, and we provide it.
It's cool too, right? Because like it seems like our business is constantly going through different transitions, and that's why it's kind of cool. Like we have different businesses within our business.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think for us, one of the cool things, one of the cool ways we're actually able to make money on the side with using the products of the business, right? So for instance, we also have like a rental aspect to our business as well. So we have like camera equipment such as cameras, tripods, and also backdrops as well. So every week, I'm sure, as we told you guys, we have a 72 turnaround when we get the new clothing, take the pictures, post it online. But when we're not using the item to take the pictures, we actually rent them out through our different channels, right? So like our Let Go, our Kijiji, our Facebook accounts, we'll actually rent those items. So it's like we're constantly trying different ways to make money. And aside from also the renting the camera equipment, we also have like the renting of the clothing as well. So different people, they'll message us like, hey, you can rent some clothing for like whether it be a movie, a YouTube video, and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool how like we're diversifying even within the business, and not necessarily the products that we're selling, but like the items that we use for helping our business grow.
I feel like diversifying is like the key to any growth and any sort of progression. Like if you want to move up or you want to move in any direction in terms of like navigating throughout business, like you need to diversify, you need to change, you need to bring some sort of new element to the table, have a means of just like generally reading the market, like figuring out what people want and like catering to that, but also like adding maybe a little bit of something different, you know what I mean? Just to see where it takes you.
Yeah, and the best part about that too, it's like trial and error.
Trial and error.
Like, you know, because like at the worst case is like, okay, you wasted maybe an hour or 2 hours of your time, but then the upside of that is like, okay, you found a new way to generate revenue for your business.
Yeah, like I remember there being a point like a couple months ago when we didn't think that we could sell our stuff at like sneaker events or streetwear type of events.
Oh my gosh,
you know what I mean?
that literally was like so demoralizing at one point.
Yeah.
Because I really thought like, yo, this isn't our market.
Yeah.
This isn't our market. But again, it was because we weren't humble enough to be like, okay, this is our market because the age group is there and people are interested in the vintage stuff. But how can we like increase our profitability when we go to these events?
Which is through Off-White, contemporary stuff, through Supreme, those types of things.
Yeah,
like
through
things.
diversifying.
Diversifying, exactly.
Yeah, so that's beautiful. It's really nice to do that and everything. And also in terms of diversifying, I think we need to figure a way how we can like diversify the work that like you and I do. Because I started to realize this like our last week podcast, we realized like, hey, like everything that we want, it always gets done, but the timeline sometimes gets like a bit like sometimes we like it takes us a lot longer to do it than we should. After that I realized it's like sometimes, let's say there's 10 tasks you'll be responsible for and I'm responsible for 6 of those tasks, and then it's hard on me now because like I'm falling behind because I have all these extra tasks that I'm doing plus work plus all the like extracurricular things that I'm doing as well too, right? So I want to find a way that we can like where either I can like teach you some of the tasks, where some weeks we can like go back and forth, or maybe like there's some tasks you can like help me with, or like you can help me take off my plate or whatever, you know.
Okay, I'm cool with that. You just need to let me know specifically like what it is that you want me to do.
Yeah, I think in terms of like taking the pictures, I'll stick to that and editing them. But for me, I think it's just like it would be like little things, like we just need to like sit down and figure out exactly what those things are, and then we can take it from there. Or maybe sometimes it's like, yeah, like I take the pictures, then you can just edit them quickly. I can just show you how to do that quickly or whatever, you know what I mean? Or if it's like, if I'm gonna be taking the pictures, you help me steam the clothing. So it's like, that's one less thing I have to do, and it just speeds up the whole process of us actually taking the pictures and putting them on.
It's just like, overall, it's just like, it requires more communication. If you feel like there's something that you need help with, just let me know and we'll figure it out so that I can work on it, or we can split it between the two of us, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, exactly. And also I was thinking too, I kind of want to go back to, but not right now, like, let's put it out there, the whole, the non-profit companies that we're working with, will give people resources and stuff like that in terms of helping them with their resumes, helping them with like their soft skills and stuff like that. But I think it's important for us to always have that underlying connection with the community, like not necessarily less fortunate, but with the people who are growing towards trying to like find themselves and like, you know,
because like
sustainable.
we've talked about this in I think other podcasts before, but like we don't believe in charity, so to speak.
Like, 100%.
Like we believe in providing people with like tools and knowledge and skills to better themselves.
100%.
Like if someone gives you a loaf of bread, that's not teaching you how to get a loaf of bread for yourself.
100%.
So like I think that the reason why we do subscribe to the organizations that we choose to work with is because we are passionate about what they do and we believe in their cause, and we believe that like the work that they do is actually benefiting people.
Yeah, and it's good too, right? It's good to give people resources and tools like what you're saying, so hopefully they don't have to come back to those organizations. But like if we only work by charities are gonna come back to us every time you need us, you know?
Exactly.
Where it's like the organization that we work with, it's nice because they're essentially saying, we're giving you these tools, so please don't ever come back here. Because
Yeah.
at that point, you won't have to.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, you've learned how to improve your resume. You learned how to improve your speaking skills when it comes to an interview. How to, like, you know, just utilize the skills that you have so you can, like, grow as a person. And I think that's really important.
Yeah.
So, like, I want to figure out a way, maybe we can, like, start sending emails to them, start, like, because before we're teaching the classes about, like, business, so maybe if we want to do maybe, like, a couple of those or something like that.
Okay.
Like, you know, I'm not saying we have to do it right now, but, like, let's try to figure it out, because one major thing we have to do is, like, continue the relationship with them.
Yeah.
You know, because we don't want to make them feel as if, like, oh, these guys forgot about us, they moved on.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
I think I haven't forgotten about them, and I know you haven't either. I just think overall we've gotten a lot busier. So I think maybe, because I know we both kind of talked about that we want to do at most 3 events a month.
Yeah.
So I guess that 4th week
Yeah.
would be something in relation to them. Or it doesn't have to be like so, like, it doesn't have to be so strenuous to the point where you need to, like, go and, like, do a class, or, like, it doesn't have to be anything really like
even
that.
like what we were doing before, like how we we're providing them with clothing.
Yeah.
Even if it's like something like that continued on.
Just something small, some form of, and we also do their mentorship as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So just being more involved and engaged in that, I think that as well is a benefit.
No, 100%. So that's really, really good. Okay, so now let's switch back to the actual business aspect of things, right? And I think the one good thing we were talking about before is diversifying, and how we solely used to shop at, like, value villages, thrift stores.
Yeah.
And then we started to realize, like, okay, like, these products they sell here are good, but it's like the price points that they have really, really suck.
Yeah, like Value Village, your price point is not as good as it used to be. Like, I remember even like I'd say 4 or 5 years ago, you go into Value Village and find some really, really good stuff for like $3, $4, $5. Now you'll go in
like
there.
3, 4, 500. It's like what?
Now, like, you'll go in there and you'll see those same items for like 15, 20, 30. It's like, okay.
Like, what's going on, guys?
Yeah, like, this isn't
What's
a
going
deal
on?
anymore.
Like, you know?
So, yeah, we've generally found a way to diversify where we're getting our products from. And I think it's really benefited us, like, hugely.
No, 100%, right? Because now we're going to the wrap shops where instead of buying one item for $5, we're buying them by the pound.
Yeah.
So now it's so beneficial for us where it's like we have more of like a leeway now to do certain things.
Yeah.
So like now we don't feel as bad if we have to like sell items at a lower price point because we bought them at a lower price point.
And we can also provide like a better price for our product for our customers, because like at the end of the day, I know like from the beginning, like part of our business plan was to provide people with like good quality stuff at like a good price. You know what I mean? So like shopping at Value Village was kind of like against our business model because it didn't really allow us to do that while being a profitable business.
Yeah,
so.
and it's crazy the thing about Value Village too. They actually have a really good business plan because the majority of the clothes I believe is donated. It's not all. And then they go back and sell to people at literally like 1,000-time margins.
Yeah.
So it's actually a really, really good business plan, by the way. But at the end of the time, at the end of the day, they kind of do have some good like incentives, like they have like the diabetes.
Yeah, they do a lot of like charitable aspects. Like they give back. Well, they kind of have to because they get their inventory for free essentially. So yeah, like they do a lot of good stuff, but
yeah, and I think also with Value Village too, they kind of help the stigma of vintage clothing being like
huge.
Of being like, oh, this is nice, this is old clothing, right?
Huge.
Because they've been around forever.
I remember when I was a kid and I would not be seen in Value Village.
It's funny, when I was a kid, my mom would like punish us by threatening to buy our clothes from Value Village.
Yeah, and now it's like you'll ask someone like where they got something from. They're like, oh, Value Village. It's like, oh, no way, it's so good. Like it's not something that people like think negatively about at all, which is definitely a good thing.
And I hope it actually does continue because I think like, don't get me wrong, I still see people that are like, oh no, I would never wear used clothing.
Yeah.
But I still believe like.
A lot of times people who say that don't have any style.
Yeah, so it's
they
like,
don't.
whatever. So like, I hope this stigma does like diminish over time because like that's only gonna allow our business to continue growing and for us to remain relevant, right?
Yeah.
Because like sometimes I think we constantly have this conversation like every so often. It's like, what's next? vintage is going to die eventually. Like, there's going to be a certain point where people don't like the oversized fit anymore. People don't like the baggy fit anymore, you know what I mean? They want a more modern or more like, more modern fit or more modern style and everything, right?
Yeah.
And it's like what we're saying, when it comes to style and fashion, it's a cycle. Like, it's something else is going to replace it. So it's like, when is this aspect of our business going to be replaced? I just want to be really prepared for that.
And that's what diversifying does, right? Like, diversifying allows you to have your like hands in multiple different pots, so that when something does go under, so say if vintage clothing is like off the map, nobody wants it anymore, we can hop over to the contemporary stuff that we're already involved in and just keep going with that, you know what I mean? So it allows us to just have that like safety net.
Yeah, and I think even with diversifying as well, we also have to like diversify how much rack shops we go to, diversify how much suppliers we have for the Off-White, the Supreme that we're able to get and stuff like that as well too, right? Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's like we're kind of held at the mercy of them. What if their business goes under? Yeah. Or they're not able to get the products that they once were able to get, right? Yeah. Now we're held in a bad position as well too, right?
Yeah, and you never want to have all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. And I think we're okay at that, but it's like now we need to constantly like continue that cycle of finding new relationships, getting new people. Because it would suck if one day our supplier's like, hey, sorry, like we're not doing Off-White anymore. We don't have to connect anymore. That literally that whole aspect of our business would be downdrained.
I know I definitely want to get another Off-White link, and I definitely want like a Supreme or Palace, like, or both.
Yeah, just all of it, right? Also, whatever the kids want. It doesn't even have to be those specific brands, to be honest with you. It's like whatever the demographic wants, let's accommodate them. Yeah. Like, you know, so
as long as it's not too ugly. Like sometimes, honestly, my it just gets to me and I just can't.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like in business we can't make it overly emotional.
At the end of the day, like if I'm talking about a product and I'm like, like this, I can't be genuinely excited to put like something ugly on someone. Like, luckily, I generally like Supreme. I like
all those hypebeast brands for the most part.
I like Off-White, but honestly, there's like a couple that I really don't like that I won't mention. But it's not my thing. But,
Yeah, but no, it's fine. I totally understand it too. It's just that like, and I think that's what we're doing wrong at the beginning of our business. We're only selling things that we want to sell, and we're like, like we have the best style. And like we're so arrogant about it before, right? Arrogant. But now we're understanding it's like in the business that we're in, it's constantly gonna change. So it's like we have to like cater to that market despite what our feelings are towards the brands.
We have to just be willing to be uncomfortable. Yeah. Like, and at the end of the day, like business isn't personal, so we can't really take it personally.
No, 100%. Yeah. And so in terms of like marketing to that appropriate demographic, what are we gonna do for our marketing plan where we can actually just sit down? Because like we said that we would be releasing the podcast at 10 videos. This is video number 9. This is video number 9, so we're literally right there. And we have all the different distribution channels that we want to distribute the podcast to. But now it's like we also need to like create that other content that we're doing as well too, right?
Well, I think that we just need to sit down and have like one day. Yeah. Well, you said this too. Well, one day where we just figure it out and literally just write it all out, get it all organized and on paper somewhere. Because I think it's all kind of just like bouncing around in your head and in my head right now, but we need to like really put it like cohesively together. So I don't think it's going to be this weekend.
Yeah, because we have 2 events this weekend. So this weekend, guys, we're going to the Ottawa version of the Toronto Vintage Clothing Show. And there's this really cool event happening on Saturday. It's called the Dead Stock Depot, where they do all the old school Tommy Hilfiger, vintage Nautica, stuff like that. So it's 2 demographics of vintage that we're working with this whole weekend. So it's going to be really, really busy. So tomorrow she's actually going shopping for more stuff. And then Friday I'm going to be going shopping as well. So let's get a bunch of stuff and like just kill it. But yeah, back to the marketing plan. It's probably going to be the weekend after.
No, I'd say Monday.
Why Monday?
Because we have the time.
Okay, yeah, let's do Monday. So let's do Monday. Literally, there's no excuses. Monday, we're just gonna do it. Let's
write
just
get down on our dandy whiteboard.
On brand new whiteboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's get that out of the way because I think it's long overdue. Now that we have like all the content in place, let's actually just write it down strategically, and then I'll feel a lot more comfortable doing the Facebook markets. Sorry, doing the Facebook advertisements, doing the Instagram advertisements as well too, right? Because it goes back to what we're saying, having that full cycle, and just constantly just putting it through the machine and just allowing it to run. So like we have this one aspect done. Let's just do it, man. We know what we're doing. We just have to implement it.
You just have to fully execute it. It's been executed, but this is the one thing. And I think we've been kind of like delayed with the marketing plan because I think it's the one aspect of our business that both of us are a little bit uncomfortable with. Because I think when you delay things, you always delay it for a reason. Like it's like when you're eating food, you always eat your favorite things first, right?
Yeah. And also with this too, it's actually one of the hardest things because it requires the most trial and error.
Yeah, and it requires us being like, we're putting ourselves out there more.
Yeah.
We're opening ourselves up for criticism. Like these like kids intimidate me. Like they're on Instagram like every day. Like
yo guys, what's up, yo? What's up, yo?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know how to do this stuff. Like I'm just learning. I'm like, hey, like is this thing on? Like I'm just, it takes time. So I think that's why we both kind of been stalling on it.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a part of it.
It is like a new, even though we obviously are on Instagram, we're obviously on Facebook, it's a new venture for us that we're working with. But yeah, that's all I got for today. So I think our main focus for this week coming is obviously our events coming up, as well as our marketing.
And also marketing the brand new off-white stuff that we got and everything like that.
Yeah.
So let's kill it.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining us again this week. Please like and share so we know that you care. And until next time, see you guys later.
Bye.
Peace.